Welcome to today's episode. Just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you to all of our new followers and people that have been supporting the channel. We've obviously got a handful today. What we're going to be doing, Jack?
Today, well, we've got an RB25 Neo here. This is straight out of Japan, this one. So basically what we're going to be doing, we've got an R34 in a mate's car. It's non-turbo. So this one is a turbo engine. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing some mods for him. We're going to be chucking on a turbo intake, a few things. So we've got a nice low mount manifold here. Nice high flow turbo. Just all the brackets. We've got all the rocker covers and front covers painted up for him. A few bits and pieces, Raceworks fittings, intake, and then sump. So basically we're just going to be running through basically how to get a bare RB25 and then chuck on all the auxiliaries and all the parts that make your car go fast. So let's get to it. First things first, we're going to be starting with the head drain, in particular the sump part of it. So basically what we're going to be installing is a head drain. These RB25s are actually known for filling the head with the oil and not letting it escape back down to the sump. So this basically eliminates that problem. So this goes in the back of the head, and this fitting comes off of it and then allows you to run a line back down to the sump, and that allows the oil up at the head to escape back down to the sump. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we're using all Raceworks fittings today. So first thing we need to do is grab our fitting. We're going to be drilling a hole down into the sump, and then we're going to be TIG welding our fitting on so it's nice and neat and it's not going to leak. Once we've got that welded on, we're going to be making up our line and head drain. We may leave that to last actually. Once we've got everything on, we know where everything's going to go, so we're not competing with the line. So we're going to get that welded on first thing, then we're going to clean up the sump, chuck it back on the engine, and then we're going to start with the exhaust side. Now that we've got that all welded up, it's all painted, we've got the block all cleaned up, ready to be assembled. We're just going to put a decent bead of silicone around here. That's all they take is the silicone. Looks like it's fairly flat, no bending or anything, so we're good there. Yeah, we're just going to chuck some silicone on, make sure we get a little bead of silicone in these cracks. Can leak out of there. So front and rear seals, and then yeah, obviously a bead here. I'm going to chuck it on. Got a stainless low mount manifold here that we're going to be chucking on today. First things first, we're going to be removing this stud here, putting 4 brand new studs in, and also we're going to be using all Worth locking nuts. These ones are quite good. They stop your nuts from backing out, which is not what you want. They're quite prone to doing that. So these ones they're quite expensive, but it's well worth it. So it's quite hard to get to some of these sometimes when they back themselves out. So yeah, we're going to be chucking that on now. We've chucked the manifold on. We've actually noticed that one of the studs is hitting the manifold here. So we're going to have to chop the end off of that so it sits nice and flush and we can get a nut on there, and then it should be all good. found a problem. Turbo's touching the manifold. There's a couple of things we could do. We could either massage the manifold a little bit, we'll try and avoid that, or we can just grind a slight bit off the turbo, as long as it's not too much material we need to take off. Yeah, you don't want to be taking too much off your turbo, but just a little bit is fine off the corner, the edge there. So we're going to have to do that at a later date. We're just mocking it up for now. We're going to need to clock the center of the turbo anyway and find our lines. Okay, so we're going to chuck on the timing belt and an oil filter now. Let's get to it. All right, so we're chucking on the timing belt now. We've got to line up our marks. So we got 1 cam mark, 2 cam marks, and then you've got your crank. This is a new belt, it's just a little bit dirty. It's been installed before. So where we've got on our cams, we've got a dot on a cam lined up with the mark on the backing plate. Same thing over here, we've got a dot on a cam lined up with our backing plate. And then we've got the same thing on our crank. So we've got a dot here lined up with that mark there. So they're all painted, easy to see. Now we're just going to install it. All installed to our correct marks. All we need to do now is get our correct tension. Good idea before you pull off the old one, just to get a gauge of what tension you need. So basically all we're doing is this 14mm nut here is loose. There's a spring behind this pulley. These 2 pulleys are new, by the way. So there's a spring behind this pulley. This is a tensioner pulley. So then we get our tension desired, nip it up. Then we've got to turn over the engine a couple times till we got our markings to line back up. And then we check the tension again, make sure everything's okay. I'm just going off of feel. I've done a fair few RBs now, so I know how they feel. Yeah, and now we'll be able to chuck on the front covers. Going to be installing this race tune intake manifold as well. So this one comes as a full kit with a rail, all the bolts and hardware that you're going to need. So seems like a decent quality kit. It's on your cheaper side, but it does the job. Haven't heard of anything bad about them. So let's go chuck that on. Chucked on the intake manifold now, race tune manifold. Looks really nice. Everything's coming together nicely now. Rocker covers with a PRP purple bolt kit. Looks really nice. So now we're just going to start mocking up our Ross Performance head drain. So this one basically goes in the back Welsh plug here. So we're going to pop out that Welsh plug. We're going to mock it up, get our fittings all mocked up. We're not going to make up the line just today, just because we've got to add all of our accessories and stuff down here. So we've got to run our line back down to the sump where we've welded on our fitting. So we're just going to get everything mocked up and see how it all looks. this concludes this video of the RB25 Neo build. We've got all the main parts on it now. Manifold, turbo, rocker covers, front covers, balancer. We started putting on the head drain and we've got the manifold set up. So we've got a lot left to do on this one. So stay tuned for part 2 of this one. We're going to be putting it in an R34 Skyline. So yeah, look forward to that.
Thanks again for watching this episode. We enjoyed building this motor. I think it looks pretty sweet. Join us in our next episode where we're going to be prepping a AU Falcon for a drift day. We're going to just be showing you how to get a car ready and prepped for that and actually get it out on the track, and you guys are going to come along in that journey.